The New Orleans Saints actually plummeted from 16 to 27. 27 is actually about right for the Saints. You know why? Because the Saints stink. The Saints, I'm sorry, and I know that people accuse me of being a Derek Carr hater or a Carr family hater, whatever you want to call it. The Saints are boring. I don't know what the Saints do that well. They're not that exciting. They have some good players. Chris Olave, awesome. Cameron Jordan, awesome. But frankly, Pete, I don't think there's a lot to love here with the Saints, and I don't think you like the Saints very much either, based on your ranking of 27.
Well, they are going to have a new offense, a new system, so I think that's something to be excited about because I thought they got a little stale. I mean, Clint Kubiak's going to be the offensive coordinator. I think he'll bring in that system and help liven things up a little bit. But the offensive line's been a problem for a while. They addressed it in the draft. They got a left tackle in the draft. I think that'll help them in a big way. But now your right tackle is talking about retiring. He's got some injury issues as well. Ramczyk at right tackle. And then the concern I have, usually you see a team that has a lot of age starting to creep in on defense, and there's younger guys ready to step in some spots. But I'm starting to worry about the age. Cam Jordan's not a kid anymore. Demario Davis isn't a kid anymore. Honey Badger isn't a kid anymore. So you're starting to see age creep in on that defense. So I think it's just a weird transition period. And we know, look, there's a lot of pressure on Dennis Allen this year. He's got to win. I mean, he changed coordinators, so they're not changing the coordinator next. It's going to probably change the head coach. So a lot of pressure on him as well. So I think you look at this division, I think the Bucs are better. I think the Falcons are better. The Panthers are not better. So they're probably the third team in the division as we sit here right now.
Well, Pete, it seems like you're not very high on Dennis Allen's current team, and I don't think you're very high on Dennis Allen's former team, the Las Vegas Raiders. Before the draft, you had him at 19th. You have now dropped him down to 24th. So I have to know, is it because they drafted a tight end for some reason in the first round, even though they used a top 35 pick on a tight end last year? Is it because no one has any idea who their quarterback is? Is it because they didn't draft for need at all? Did you think they were going to get a quarterback in the draft? Why are you so low on the Raiders, Briscoe?
Well, let's start with the quarterback position. They didn't address it. They clearly wanted to. They were interested in going up and getting a guy. They couldn't. Where they were at, they didn't get one. They weren't active enough. So now you're stuck. You're going to play Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell. And to me, that's a problem. You're not going to be able to keep up with other teams in that division. You're not going to be able to keep up with the Chiefs. I think that's a problem. Yeah, I know Antonio Pierce wants to run the ball and be physical, and I get it. Well, if that's the case, why'd you draft the tight end you drafted? I mean, they drafted Brock Bowers. You know what that was to me? That was a luxury pick. Michael Mayer was good at the end of last year. He's your tight end. Why do you need to go get, and I know teams play a lot of two tight ends, but you did that for your team the way it's constructed right now. That was not a good pick. I don't care. Bowers is going to be a good player. Mayer's going to be a really good player. You didn't need to do that. You could have addressed right tackle. I think that could have been an issue they could have done. You could have addressed the defense. Corner would have been another position you could have looked at. So I think on the surface, this team is the third or fourth team in the division. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I think Antonio Pierce did a heck of a job last year, and it's unfair to grade him on what he has right now at the quarterback position. And he clearly wanted to address that. But as of right now, the quarterback position, you guys know how I feel about Minshew. I think he's a backup. I'm worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, the bottom line is when you have an interim coach who gets promoted to the full-time coach, a GM who just got fired by a division rival, and Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell at quarterback, you may be sort of flirting with things when it comes to not winning a lot of football games, especially when you play Patrick Mahomes twice a year, Justin Herbert twice a year now, Bo Nix twice a year. Elsewhere in the AFC, though. Loaded AFC, by the way. We were talking about it, Pete, over text. Like, how do you picking the playoff teams is going to be tough. Like, leaving some teams out of the AFC. It's like I left the Dolphins out, and you might leave the Dolphins out as well. You had them at 15th. They got leapfrogged by the Jets. And I'll hand it to producer Harry. I'll let him ask the question here. How does it feel to be so wrong? Just kidding. He wants to know how the Dolphins, what the Dolphins have to do to earn your trust and move into the top 10.
Well, let's start with the quarterback. He was good. He wasn't good in the big moments, though. He wasn't. You go back and look at the big games he played in the playoff game, he wasn't very good. And I know the weather wasn't good for him either. It was freezing. But you look at what he did against the good teams. He wasn't very good, and that is concerning to me. The offensive line had a bunch of injuries. Did they really address it? I love Patrick Paul, the left tackle they took out of Houston, but he's not going to play right away. If Armstead's healthy, he's going to play. So are they any better on the offensive line? That's a worry. Defensive tackle, they signed a bunch of bodies, Benito Jones and guys like that, and Neville Gallimore, but they're not going to replace Christian Wilkinson. They didn't draft a guy. They did not draft a down lineman in the draft, which I found surprising. And you have concerns of the guys who rush the passer. You know, Phillips is coming off a major injury. Chubb's coming off an ACL injury. You're talking about Achilles and an ACL. You drafted 2, and I do like the 2 they drafted. I love Chop Robinson, and I like Kamara as well. I think they're both going to be good edge players, but they're kids. So there are concerns with the Miami Dolphins. First and foremost, Tua in big games.
Tua will be after you. Tua will be all up on you.
The stats are there. You just showed. We put the graphic up. We saw it. You saw it. He didn't play well in those games.
That's right.